Welcome back for another video to the channel. If you've been studying English for years but still struggle to speak it confidently, then today's discussion is exactly what you need. So many learners spend 5, 10, or even 15 years studying English, yet they still hesitate during simple conversations. Why does that happen? Is it because English is too difficult? Is it because some people are naturally better at languages? Or is there something fundamentally wrong with the way most people learn? In today's conversation, we're going to uncover the real reasons why you still can't speak English even after years of study, and more importantly, what you can start doing differently from today.
I've got to be honest, this has been bothering me for years. I've studied English since I was a kid. I passed my school exams, completed assignments, memorized vocabulary, and learned grammar rules. But when someone starts speaking English to me, I panic. Sometimes I understand what they're saying, but when it's my turn to respond, I either stay quiet or answer with one or two words. It makes me wonder whether all those years of studying were pointless.
You're definitely not alone. In fact, millions of English learners around the world experience exactly the same thing. The surprising part is that it usually isn't because they lack knowledge, it's because they've been practicing the wrong skills.
The wrong skills? That sounds strange. Isn't studying English supposed to help you speak English?
Not necessarily. Think about someone who wants to become a great basketball player. If they spend years reading books about basketball rules but never actually play the game, would they become a skilled player?
Of course not.
Exactly. Learning about something and actually doing it are completely different experiences. Unfortunately, many English learners spend years learning about English instead of actually using English.
That honestly describes me perfectly. Most of my classes involved reading textbooks, filling in blanks, answering multiple choice questions, and memorizing grammar rules.
And how often were you expected to hold a real conversation for 10 or 15 minutes?
Almost never.
There's your first answer. Speaking is a skill. Like any skill, it improves through repeated practice. You can't expect to become comfortable speaking if you've barely spent any time speaking.
But I know a lot of vocabulary. I've learned thousands of words over the years.
Knowing words isn't the same as being able to use them instantly. When you're having a conversation, your brain has only a second or two to find the right words, arrange them into a sentence, pronounce them correctly, and continue listening to the other person at the same time.
When you explain it like that, speaking sounds much harder than I thought.
It is a complex skill, but the good news is that your brain gets faster the more you practice. The problem is that many English learners spend 95% of their study time reading and only 5% actually speaking.
I think another problem is that I'm afraid of making mistakes.
That's probably one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck for years.
Really?
Absolutely. Many learners believe they have to speak perfectly before they speak confidently. The truth is exactly the opposite. You become confident because you've spoken imperfectly thousands of times.
That sounds encouraging, but it's difficult. Every time I speak English, I feel like people are judging me.
Let me ask you something. When someone is learning your native language and they make small mistakes, what do you think?
Honestly, I admire them for trying.
Exactly. Most people react the same way. They're usually focused on understanding your message, not counting your grammar mistakes.
I never looked at it that way.
That's because many education systems unintentionally train students to fear mistakes. Every incorrect answer loses marks. Every grammar error gets highlighted in red. Over time, students start believing mistakes are unacceptable.
That happened to me throughout school.
But conversations aren't exams. Conversations are about communication. If someone understands your idea, you've already succeeded, even if your sentence wasn't perfect.
I guess I've been chasing perfection instead of communication.
Exactly. Perfection is one of the biggest enemies of fluency.
Here's another thing I've noticed. I can understand English videos much better than I can speak.
That's actually very common. Listening and speaking are connected, but they're different skills. Think about sports again. Watching professional football every weekend doesn't automatically make you a great football player.
True.
Listening helps build familiarity with pronunciation, sentence structure, and natural expressions, but eventually you have to produce the language yourself.
I sometimes translate everything from my native language before speaking.
That's another habit that slows learners down.
Why?
Because translation takes time. Imagine someone asks you a simple question like, "What did you eat for breakfast?" Instead of answering immediately, your brain first creates the sentence in your native language, translates each word into English, checks the grammar, and only then starts speaking.
That's exactly what happens inside my head.
Meanwhile, the conversation has already moved forward. So how do I stop translating? Start thinking in simple English instead of perfect English. Instead of building long, complicated sentences, use the words you already know. Fluency isn't about using advanced vocabulary, it's about expressing ideas smoothly.
I think I also spend too much time memorizing vocabulary lists.
Vocabulary matters, but isolated words don't stick very well. Your brain remembers words much better when they're connected to situations, stories, or conversations.
So instead of memorizing the word decision, I should learn phrases like make a decision?
Exactly. English is full of common word combinations. Learning those chunks makes speaking much faster because your brain recalls entire phrases instead of individual words.
That actually sounds much easier.
It is. Native speakers don't build every sentence from scratch. They rely on thousands of familiar patterns they've heard and used repeatedly.
Another thing I'd noticed is pronunciation. Sometimes I know the word when I read it, but I don't recognize it when someone says it.
That's because English pronunciation often differs from spelling. If you've mainly learned through books, your brain recognizes written English much better than spoken English.
So should I listen more?
Definitely. Listen to podcasts, interviews, conversations, and videos where people speak naturally. More importantly, don't just listen passively. Pause, repeat, imitate, and pay attention to rhythm and pronunciation.
Like shadowing?
Exactly. Shadowing is one of the most effective techniques because you're training your mouth and ears together. The goal isn't simply understanding English, the goal is making English feel natural when you speak it.
I like that idea, but what if I don't have anyone to practice with? That's one of my biggest problems.
That's a common concern, but thankfully it's no longer a good excuse. Today you can practice speaking in many different ways. You can talk to yourself in English while cooking, walking, or getting ready for work. You can describe what you see around you, record your voice on your phone, or use AI conversation partners to practice every day.
Talking to myself sounds a little strange.
It feels strange only at first. Remember, athletes don't wait for competition day to practice. They train every day. Speaking to yourself builds fluency because you're training your brain to produce English without pressure.
I never thought of it as training.
That's exactly what it is. Fluency isn't something you're born with. It's a skill that develops through consistent repetition.
So consistency matters more than long study sessions.
Absolutely. 30 minutes of speaking every day is much more effective than studying grammar for 5 hours once a week. Your brain learns through frequent exposure and repetition.
I also compare myself to people who seem to speak English effortlessly.
That's another trap. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes practice with someone else's final performance. You don't know how many mistakes they made before they became fluent.
That's true. I only see the result, not the journey.
Exactly. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once struggled to form simple sentences. The difference is that they kept practicing despite feeling uncomfortable.
So being uncomfortable is actually part of the learning process.
It always is. If speaking English feels challenging, it doesn't mean you're failing. It usually means your brain is growing. Every conversation teaches you something new.
I think I've been waiting for the perfect moment to start speaking.
The perfect moment never comes. The best time to start speaking was years ago. The second best time is today.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
Here's something else to remember. Don't measure your progress by asking, "Did I make mistakes?" Instead, ask yourself, "Did I communicate my idea better than yesterday?" That's real progress.
I like that. It feels much less stressful.
Exactly. Language is about connection, not perfection. Every conversation, every mistake, and every new phrase moves you one step closer to fluency.
So if we had to summarize everything we've discussed today, what would you say?
I'd say this: stop studying English only to pass exams. Start using English every single day. Speak more than you memorize. Learn phrases, not just individual words. Listen actively and practice shadowing. Don't fear mistakes because they're proof that you're learning. Stay consistent even if your progress feels slow.
That completely changes the way I think about learning English. I finally understand that fluency isn't about knowing everything, it's about using what I already know with confidence.
Exactly. And remember, every fluent English speaker started exactly where you are today. They weren't fearless. They simply kept speaking, kept learning, and refused to give up.
I guess it's time for me to stop preparing forever and actually start speaking.
That's the spirit. Your English won't improve because you waited another month or learned another 100 vocabulary words. It will improve because you start speaking today.
Thank you. This conversation has been incredibly motivating.
You're very welcome. And to everyone watching, remember this: don't let fear, perfectionism, or self-doubt stop you from speaking English. Every sentence you speak is another step toward fluency.
If you enjoyed this discussion and found it helpful, make sure to give this video a thumbs up.
Subscribe to the channel if you want more practical English conversations, speaking tips,